Well, as Indonesians head to the polls tomorrow, more than 1 million others living and working outside the country will not be forgotten. Channel News Asia's Arya Sandhiyudha speaks to some young overseas Indonesians to find out their concerns.
Arya Sandhiyudha will be among thousands of Indonesians casting their ballots at overseas embassies. Despite being far from home, Arya says he's not been left out of the campaigning process.
I think the candidate like Prabowo Subianto from the Gerindra, the new party, is taking more advantage on this media, Facebook, because Facebook is the third biggest media that used by the Indonesian people today.
Unlike most countries, overseas Indonesian voters don't pick the candidate of their native region. Instead, they'll all be voting for 2 districts in Jakarta. While this system allows for simplicity in administering the overseas vote, critics say having no affinity to the area they're voting for has led to disinterest among overseas voters.
For the others who doesn't really have an interest in politics, I don't think they will find out by themselves who should they vote for.
32-year-old Adi Muzadi says while some improvements need to be made in the election system, other changes are being made too hastily. For instance, this will be the first election where voters pick individual candidates instead of the parties.
By doing this kind of mechanism, it took you a lot of money. So it's not a good precedent actually for Indonesia at this stage. I think this kind of mechanism can be applied in the next 5 years or next 10 years instead of this election.
Others say the lack of differentiation between parties has created a sense of apathy.
Every party said that, okay, we will not deal with corruption. But you know right now, every party, almost every party, they are dealing with corruption.
Despite such concerns, embassy officials in Singapore say they're still expecting thousands of voters to show up. There are close to 100,000 registered Indonesian voters here in Singapore, and that's one of the largest groups of overseas voters in the world. So the Indonesian embassy here in Chatsworth Road has made special preparations to cope with the large numbers expected to turn out on election day. And for the first time, those unable to cast their votes in person have the option of doing it by post.
We use the postal services to reach as many Indonesians as possible.
Embassy officials say they expect around 50,000 Indonesians to turn up to vote in person. Arya Sandhiyudha, Channel News Asia, Singapore.